Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'll be doing the single eyeshadow tag. This was created by Zeyn San here on YouTube. I'll put her channel down below and I will also put her original tag video down below as well. I personally don't really talk too much about single eyeshadows here on my channel. I used to talk about them a ton, but when I saw this tag, I was kind of really interested in doing it because I figured it would be a good opportunity to A, show you guys my single shadows, and B, perhaps motivate myself to talk more about my single shadows and to perhaps use them more on my channel. There are 8 questions in this tag, so I'm just going to get right on into it, starting with the first one. Do you prefer buying single shadows or palettes? I think I prefer buying palettes. There's something about having a curated selection of eyeshadows right at your fingertips that I find very appealing. I think that with single eyeshadows, you're left to do a lot of the work yourself when it comes to sourcing eyeshadows, finding finishes, finding that specific perfect color that you want. In addition to this, I think that in my mind, buying a palette is a lot more cost effective and a lot more cost efficient than buying single shadows because, for example, single shadows often run about $5 each. Let's say that. So if you want to buy 4 single eyeshadows, if you want to buy a quad, you're paying $20 versus a whole bunch of really amazing palettes these days can go for $15 to $20 and you can get 9 pans of shadows in those palettes. So in my mind, having a palette of shades that I absolutely love versus going and curating my own selection of single shadows is a lot more cost effective in my mind, which is why I find myself more often than not buying palettes rather than single shadows. The next question is, when did you start buying single shadows / what got you into them? I started buying single shadows when I first started getting into the depths of the beauty community here on YouTube. I had quit my initial stage of just discovering makeup YouTube and I started to sort of form my own preferences as to who I wanted to watch. And I remember distinctly that I discovered Jaclyn Hill's channel, and this was years ago, and this was when she was really into showing Makeup Geek shadows. I think I started watching her right before that, and by the time I really started becoming obsessed with her, she had started talking a ton about Makeup Geek shadows, and she had this huge Z palette, much like this one. And she basically talked about her single Makeup Geek shadows and her favorite single eyeshadows, and I was enthralled, and I started buying single eyeshadows, I think, because of Jaclyn Hill. In addition to this, there were some other brands that I was really interested to get single eyeshadows from, and I started buying from those brands. I also started buying a little bit from the Anastasia, but to this day, I only own 2 Anastasia eyeshadows in here, so I didn't really buy a lot of Anastasia eyeshadows to begin with, but I started becoming really obsessed with single eyeshadows because of Jaclyn Hill, and actually a lot of the single eyeshadows in my collection were bought because of Jaclyn Hill's recommendation. The next question is, what are your favorite brands / formulas of single eyeshadows? For me personally, I find that I'm really drawn to the metallic and shimmery formulas when it comes to single eyeshadows, particularly the foiled finishes. These are some shadows from Luxie that I particularly love. This is Makeup Geek. This is also Makeup Geek. This is Anastasia. This is Anastasia. I just am really drawn to the foiled, the really shimmery, high shine, metallic shadows. And for me, I think that Luxie makes really great shadows like that. Makeup Geek makes some really amazing foiled eyeshadows as well. The next question is, if you can only pick 3 singles as the crown jewels of your collection, what would they be? The color Drain Vivid Pigments Pressed Pigment is absolutely phenomenal. I think that I have used this pressed pigment more so than any other of my single eyeshadows just because this single pressed pigment is that good. This is in the shade Gumby, and again, it's from Color Drain. It's a pressed pigment. The only reason I don't have it in here is because there simply isn't that much space at all, but I absolutely love this. I'll swatch it for you right now, but I love this so much. It is absolutely amazing. I'm just going to swatch a little bit, and let me show you. That is so beautiful. and this blends out like a dream. I think it looks better on the eyes personally, but I absolutely love this color. And then I also think that, let me see, this particular shade from Makeup Geek, this is the color Charmed, and this is like this foiled finish, and it's absolutely lovely. I remember absolutely loving it so much, and I'm thinking, oh, actually, Pegasus from Makeup Geek is also like just so amazing. I know I feel like I might be showing you guys 4 shadows instead of 3, so I'm very sorry about that. But Pegasus, like, this is a foiled shadow that is absolutely amazing. I really do love layering it for like that really opaque light blue jewel toned effect. Just look at that. Like, look at how beautiful and buttery that is. Then, last but not least, I absolutely have to mention Luxie Beauty's Bohemian Shadow. This, in my mind, is an almost perfect dupe to the Anastasia Beverly Hills shadow called Pink Champagne. The only difference is that this is just like a few shades darker, but all these shadows are absolutely beautiful. I feel like looking from these swatches, if I had to be really picky and choose just 3, I would choose Gumby, Pegasus, and Bohemian, but I just really love all 4 of these, to be honest. So yes, I mean, you guys know how much I love color and I love eyeshadow, but these formulas are all so pretty, and as you can tell, like, I do like a majority of like the foiled beautiful metallic formulas in this entire palette. Which brands singles do you want to try in the future? I really want to experiment more with Colored Rain's singles. I think that I really love their I really do love, let me show you, the Colored Rain Vivid Pigments palette. It's so pretty, and also this single is so beautiful as well. So again, I really want to get into some more of the Colored Rain's singles eyeshadows. I also really want to go ahead and try more of Luxie eyeshadows because I actually do have quite a lot of Luxie in here, but the reason I don't feature Luxie Beauty as much on my channel is because a whole bunch of the shadows that I have from Luxie are neutrals. Like, I have a lot of these like neutral colors right here, and because I don't really use neutrals that much, as a result, I don't use a lot of Luxie that much because I don't have a lot of colorful Luxie shadows, but I would love to go ahead and buy some more of Luxie's colorful shadows so I can experiment with the formula more, because I know everybody is always raving about Luxie's formula and I really want to try it out for myself. In addition to that, I really want to try out Divina Cosmetics single eyeshadows. I hear a lot of like really great things about Divina's formula, and a lot of people have really nice things to say about them. In addition to that, I really also want to try some of the Menagerie Cosmetics single eyeshadows, and then like the Strobe Cosmetics single eyeshadows. So Menagerie, Divina, Strobe Cosmetics. I also really want to try more of Colored Rain, and I also want to try more of Luxie. So yes, lots of brands there. But yes, I mean, I think that I'm always like really just drawn to like the shimmery foiled finishes of so many of these shadows. But in particular, I think Strobe Cosmetics has some really interesting colorful matte eyeshadows that I really want to try the singles for. So those are really pretty looking. So yeah, I mean, oh gosh, I'm just thinking of eyeshadow singles now. What, if any, are some of your single shadow color gaps? For me, I really want to see more color in this palette. I have not used this palette enough because I'm just not necessarily motivated to use any of these neutrals, and as a result, I'm just avoiding this palette altogether. So I feel like it would be, I think, beneficial for me to remove most, if not all, of the neutral shadows in here so that I can trick my brain into thinking that this is a colorful palette. Because I do see that there are some colorful shades in here, but whenever I open this palette, I'm just swamped with like neutrals, and I don't like that. So I kind of really want to add some really fun and interesting and punchy colors into this palette, into like my singles collection, because right now, most of my singles are neutrals, and that just, at this moment, like, I'm just bored by that. The next question is, how many single eyeshadows do you have? If you have too many to count, give an estimate. If you want to put a pic or a clip of your single shadow collection here too, that would be great. You could also show off / mention your favorite palette to store singles in. So, let me show you. I have 35 shades in here, and then I have these shadows, and I have 3 of them. So I have 38 single eyeshadows in all. And the palette that I use to store my single shadows in is the Z palette. It's like the extra large one, I think. Well, extra large. It doesn't really say on here, but this is one of the larger ones the Z palette has to offer, I believe. I wouldn't necessarily recommend Z palette. I don't really care where I put these single eyeshadows in so long as it fits, and at the moment when I was like first getting into singles, everybody was obsessed with Z palette, and Z palette at that moment in time was one of the only brands that sold single eyeshadow palettes. Does your single eyeshadow collection lean towards a certain color family / is one color family overrepresented? If so, what is it? The color in here that is really overrepresented is brown, because there are so many browns in this palette, way too many for me. And I guess to some other people, there are not a lot of browns in here, or this looks like a kind of like a colorful palette. But to me, I am used to something that literally looks like this. So for me, when I look at this versus this to me looks a little bit too boring, because so many of like the colors in this palette, like for example, this entire row right here, this entire row is neutral. This entire row is neutral. This entire row is neutral. So many of the shades in here are neutrals, and to me, the neutrals in here are overrepresented, since I literally do not use neutrals at all, and as a result, I have found myself not really using this palette, which is unfortunate. I think I will at some point be asking around when it comes to like my close friends and family and see if anybody wants single eyeshadows, because if so, I'll do a declutter and I'll give some of these single shadows away because they're not being used. So I think that I would say 25% of the shadows in here are shadows that I actually want to keep, and the other 75% are shadows that I would like to pass on. So I don't know, maybe at some point you'll be seeing like a single eyeshadow declutter video in which this palette will be practically empty at the end. Probably not, but we'll see. So that is the end of the single eyeshadow tag. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it interesting, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye guys.